couple weeks ago, you will remember that Michael Chiesa fought Kevin Lee in Oklahoma City. Controversial finish afterwards. Chiesa appealed the loss because he never actually tapped out and he did not appear to be out. Mario Yamasaki, the referee, called a stop to the fight, I thought prematurely, and so he appealed it. We found out last week that the Oklahoma Athletic Commission denied his appeal, so wanted to talk to him about that and where he goes from here. He is joining us via the magic of Skype right now, so let us go to him. There he is, Michael Chiesa. Michael, how are you? Can you hear me, Mike? I can see you. Michael, can you hear me? Hello, hello? What is happening here? Michael? Okay. Can you see me, maybe? I can't imagine that he can't see me. His beard looks fantastic. There he is. Well, that is bizarre. I think that's a first for us. Or I could see him, hear him, but he can't hear me. We will get to him in a matter of seconds here. We'll figure that out. Sorry about that. After Michael, we'll be joined by Dustin Poirier. Looking forward to talking to him. Tyron Woodley still to come. Jimmy Rivera, Pat Miltich, both of those individuals will be in studio. We've got a recently departed UFC fighter who will come on to break some news about a new career move for him, so stay tuned for that. That's at around 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we're going to listen to the UFC 214 conference call for a few minutes, then answer some of your questions. Continue to hit us up using the hashtag the MMA Hour. And of course, you can still watch us on the MMAhour.twitter.com live on Twitter. You can, it was funny the way I said that, Twitter, and you can also watch the MMA After Hour, which will be exclusive on Twitter later on in the 5 to 6 o'clock hour. So as I mentioned, the Michael Chiesa, Kevin Lee fight, if we can't do the Skype thing, let's just get him on the phone because I don't want to back up everything too much today. That one was the day after the Bellator event. That was on June 25th in Oklahoma City. You'll recall we had Kevin Lee on the very next day. Kevin Lee officially beat Michael Chiesa, got him in the rear naked choke, and had it sunken in. It appeared to be pretty darn tight, but Chiesa never tapped. It didn't appear as though his body went limp. And I said to everyone on the show when that happened, the day after that happened, look, you can say it looked like he was about to tap. It appeared as though he was about to go out, but that didn't happen. So you can't assume that he was going to do it because we've seen crazier things happen in MMA. In fact, that same card, we saw Justine Kish appear to be submitted almost by Felice Herrig and then get out of it. So you can't assume. You have to kind of wait. Phil Baroni texted me today, and I thought his insight was very interesting. He said essentially, Mario Yamasaki robbed Michael Chiesa of his FU moment. And what he means by FU moment was there's something to not tapping. There is something to not giving in. There is something to telling your opponent, I'm not going to give you that satisfaction. And Yamasaki robbed Chiesa of that satisfaction. And it was a great performance by Kevin Lee. But the facts are Yamasaki pulled the trigger a little too soon. And this has been a constant issue with him, I think, because, and this is just me sort of hypothesizing here, once you start to get criticized, once you start to make mistakes as a referee in the cage, I think you start to overthink things. I think you start to doubt yourself. And we have seen this time and again where a referee continues to get criticized and tends to overthink things, and then all of a sudden he starts to, pull the trigger a little too soon. He starts to be unsure of himself. I actually think that the state of MMA refereeing is better than ever at this point. I think that we have had some referees like Mark Goddard. Again, we've talked about him, I think it was last week, we're starting to see Mark get put into events here in the United States more, not just the European events, and he's doing a phenomenal job. He is so confident. He is so assertive. I mean, it's a pleasure to watch him work. Keith Peterson, Jason Herzog, a couple other relatively new faces come to mind. Of course, we know about John McCarthy. We know about Herb Dean. But it's time to give these guys, like, if you continue to mess up, you should not be put in main event slots. And we could blame the commission all they want. The UFC tends to tell these people, like Mario Yamasaki, he doesn't live in Oklahoma City. He doesn't live anywhere near Oklahoma City. The UFC tends to tell them who are the best referees. They can start telling them not to use Mr. X and Mr. Y. They can do that. There has to be some kind of repercussion for messing up continuously. You can't be put in those positions. I mean, refereeing a main event of a UFC card is supposed to be a prestigious thing. That is the highest in this sport, right? That's the biggest platform possible. It doesn't get bigger than that in this sport. The UFC, these commissions have to do a better job of putting the right people in place. And it's no longer just 2 people who can do the job. There are a whole host of people who can do the job now. There's at least a solid 7 or so. I mentioned some of them. Yamasaki just isn't that guy anymore. And so what I would like to see is, okay, you could still use him, but lower on the card where there's less pressure. Have him go out, referee non-UFC events, get his confidence back up. But when you think about the time that these men and women put into their training camp, the money that is invested, and also given the fact that the UFC's pay system is show win, the guy's getting robbed of money. That's just too much. There's too much at stake here. I didn't think that they would hear his appeal. I didn't think that they would actually, change things up. I mean, it's very, very rare. We saw the situation with Tanya Evinger and Invicta not too long ago. It's incredibly rare that these commissions will reverse their decision. I think part of it is ego, to be honest. I really do. I give a lot of credit to the Missouri Commission who reversed the Evinger controversy, and then they ended up rebooking that fight against Yana Kunitskaya. But it's like I had a feeling you'll probably see the same thing with the Gunnar Nelson situation and the eye pokes. I mean, there is a case to be made that the fight was stopped prematurely, that the right man didn't win because it wasn't allowed to actually play itself out, all that stuff and more, but it's very rare. You kind of have to do it just for the sake of doing it to sort of try to prove your point, but it's incredibly rare. What I want to see is a system in place where the very best are getting to referee main events. And if you have a checkered past, if you have a history of messing up, if you have a history of not making the right calls, then you just don't get those opportunities. I actually think that MMA refereeing has come further, has evolved better than MMA judging. I don't know where Michael Chiesa is. I don't know what's going on. Why is it so hard to get him on the phone here? He was just there. I just saw him. Hopefully we'll get him any second now. I don't know. Can I get an update or something? Where's the guy? Okay, we could do phone. I don't care. I just want to... He has no phone. Michael Chiesa does not have a phone. What is happening? We could do Skype audio. I just want to talk to him. That's all. There he is. Mike, where are you? What's happening?
I'm right here. I can hear you. I can hear you finally.
Yes. Where's your phone? Did you lose your phone?
Oh, I was floating the river yesterday, and actually, I didn't lose it. My girlfriend did. So
what?
Yeah, fun. I was going to jump off this log. I was like, "Hey, hold my phone for me." And I went and jumped off this log, and then I was getting back in my raft. She came to jump back in, and she just flung my phone in the air, and hopefully I have a backup.
Oh my Lord. I texted you last night to remind you about the show and I didn't hear back, and that was somewhat unlike you, and now I know why.
Yeah, see, there's an excuse. There's an explanation.
All right. Well, I'm happy to hear. I'm happy that you're here, and I'm happy that we're able to talk to you. Thank you for the time. So I was just talking a bit about the appeal and not really being surprised that they didn't reverse the decision, because it's very unlikely, and historically they don't do these sorts of things. Were you surprised that they didn't hear you out, that they didn't reverse it?
No, I wasn't surprised. I want to thank the Oklahoma State Athletic Commission for, taking the time to look into it. I would have liked, I know it wasn't going to go through. It was a long shot. I would have liked to at least get a hearing so I could be in the same room as Mario Yamasaki and, maybe plead my case a little bit more directly to him. But like I was telling people, even if I won the appeal, it doesn't really do a whole lot for me. It doesn't change my financial status of the fight. It doesn't get the win back. It's still, it doesn't do a whole lot for me. It's more or less just, I wanted to plead my case a little bit, but they took the time to look into it. So I'm thankful they did at least that.
And what do you really think they looked into it? What makes you think that they actually sat down and looked at everything?
Well, usually you kind of hear back kind of fast on these things. It took almost a month just for them to get it back to us and let us know, that they denied my appeal. But, they sent back a formal letter, and you could tell that they took the time to look into it. And, like I said, I'm thankful they did that. Just a little disappointed with the result.
Initially, if memory serves me correct, you were kind of leaning towards not appealing, and then eventually you did. Why did you ultimately appeal?
It was just the right thing to do. I'm just to be honest with you, Ariel, 100%.
Yeah.
The second Mario Yamasaki came walking back into my locker room, me, Sam, and my coach Rick, we all looked at each other at the same time, like, oh fuck. You know what I mean? Like, it's, I'm not trying to sit here and bash the guy, but he's got a track record for not the best officiating. I know he's a 5th degree black belt, and that's all fine and dandy, but that doesn't mean you're a 5th degree black belt in officiating. I feel like he's fallen behind a little bit. And I think that's pretty sad that when, a referee walks into your room, you and your teammates are looking at each other like, oh shit, we have this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like the work of Herb Dean, Big John, Dan Mergliotta. I think the best referee in the business is Josh Rosenthal. Unfortunately, we can't have him, but it kind of sucks when an official walks into your locker room and you're like, crap. It's kind of a crappy feeling, but it's the past. I'm moving forward, and Onnit's having an invitational on September 30th, and this is my open challenge to Mr. Yamasaki I would like to test his 5th degree black belt in a friendly grappling match, and let's see if he's what he says he is. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that in a hostile way. I'm saying, hey, if your 5th degree black belt's your backup for the decisions you made, then I, as a martial artist myself, that's my open challenge to you to headline the Onnit Invitational September 30th.
September 30th on an invitational, you are challenging Mario Yamasaki to a grappling match? That's what just happened?
Yes.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah.
And is this the first he's heard of it? Or did you reach out to him privately and ask him?
You're the first person I haven't talked to. I don't talk to him. That wouldn't be a good thing. I'm not that I ever spoke to him on a personal level anyways, but this is the first time I've done any media or anything in regards to my fight. When we were going through the appeal, I didn't want to do any interviews. I didn't want to, I wanted to just stay in the dark until, everything got done and the dust settled, just to see where all the cards lied. And once they did, it worked out. You're the first person I've spoke to. This is the first interview I've done. I haven't even said anything about the fight to anybody. I've just kind of just sat in the dark and just kind of waited to see how things panned out.
Thank you. And I appreciate that wholeheartedly. Yeah. I'm assuming you've watched the fight, right?
No.
You have not? Wow.
Here's the thing with me. I don't really watch even the fights I win. I don't go back and watch them. I'm very, I'm critical of myself and when I win or I lose. I've seen the highlight video. You know what I mean? I saw the bits, like the Fox Sports bits or whatever from, recap of the fight. And, it's a heartbreaker, man. Nevertheless, Kevin didn't do anything wrong, first of all. You know what I mean? He didn't do anything wrong in the fight. The 12-6 elbows, whatever, those sucked. But, none of this is his fault. He showed up and fought and competed, got me into a bad position and capitalized. You know what I mean? Doesn't change the fact I think he's a douchebag, but, he didn't do anything wrong through the fight, But, I'm trying to move forward, move on with my career. I can't let this thing hold me back. Nevertheless, I still want a rematch. I still want to beat that guy, but I don't believe that he would beat me on any given Sunday. I think that was just a crappy situation,
Why do you think Mario stopped it when he did?
For him to say that he thinks I was losing consciousness, I watched him come in and was like, no, you know what I mean? Like I saw everything happen as it did. For me, from what I saw, I was fighting the hands, and I looked up at the Jumbotron, and I saw the time. And at that point, Kevin had switched to palm. And instead of reaching back to fight the hands, I just wanted to relax, shrug my shoulders in, alleviate some pressure. It was short time. And it's a bad habit I've had before. When I fought James Vick on The Ultimate Fighter, he strapped me in a choke, and I did the same thing. I quit fighting the hands, and I put my hands up like this. Because that way, if I do end up going out, then my arms are going to fall. You know what I mean? It's not like I was like, the choke wasn't that tight. It was tighter. The choke was the tightest when he had it locked and I peeled his hands back. Before he switched palm to palm, that was when it was tight. But when he the position that he ended it in wasn't that tight. So it's I don't know why he did it. I think that there should be, isn't there like a code of conduct? From what I've seen, refs usually check your arm or they look for something. He didn't do anything. He just like jumped in. He didn't ask for a thumbs up. You didn't. There should be. You should be checking the fighter. I was not out. How does a guy go unconscious and regain consciousness that fast? That's impossible. You know what I mean? I don't know why he stopped it. I think that he got a little jumpy. I honestly just don't think that he should be officiating at this high of a level in mixed martial arts. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory manner. I think that he should just move on to something else.
The thing that I continue to be told is, well, you were about to go out, which I think is BS, because you could say that about so many fights and crazy things happen. People come back. You can't go off of you were about to, like you have to actually be out, et cetera, or tap. Were you close to going out? Like, did you feel like you were starting to lose consciousness or your breath, anything like that?
Look, if I'm man enough to accept the loss. If I've gotten beat, like when I fought Jorge Masvidal and I tapped with 1 second left, I remember seeing everything zeroing in.
Yeah.
Things started to kind of fade to black. You know what I mean? I never got that sensation. Like I said, the choke was the tightest before I had peeled the hands off. The choke was the tightest before I looked up and decided to just shrug in and relax and just ride this thing out. You know what I mean? Like if it was still a tight choke, I would have never quit fighting the hands. I would have went to sleep with my hands behind my head. You know what I mean? Like, just like you said, you can't stop a fight because I was about to go out. Because if that's the case, then you should have stopped the Justine Kish fight a long time ago. You know what I mean? Like, what we need is consistency. That's what we need in the sports. When it comes to officiating, when it comes to judging, we need consistency, and that was very inconsistent. That's why I question if Mario is, can you be consistent? Can you be a consistent official? Can you consistently officiate a main event properly? You know what I mean? Like there's just like a certain code of conduct that's not being followed, and it's just, unfortunately this comes at my expense, but maybe this leads a movement. You know what I mean? Maybe this starts some type of, maybe there needs to be better protocols for these types of situations. I don't know. Something's got to be done though. This thing just can't get, just brushed under the rug. Something's got to be addressed.
And I'm certain that if this happened in any other fight, you'd be equally pissed. But considering how, the buildup and kind of how heated it got, how difficult was it for you to digest this? How mad were you that Sunday night and then going back home? And how long, if at all, did it take for you to get over it?
To be honest with you, when I got back to the hotel, I immediately put my sweats on and I went for like a 15-mile run, just took off out of the hotel. I was just like, I had so much, I was ready for a 5-round fight. I had like you said, the build up, my first main event, the whole thing. And it just I feel like I just had the rug ripped out from underneath me. So I literally just like took off. It was just running through Oklahoma City, like purging myself. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how else to explain it. It was just, yeah, it sucks that it had to be him. It doesn't matter who you lose to, you know what I mean? But I just don't consider this a loss. I just feel like I got robbed. You know what I mean? Like I said, if I was going to lose, if I did legit, if he beat me fair and square, had I did go out and go unconscious or I did tap, then you beat me. Okay. Fair and square, even though you're a douchebag, whatever, you beat me. But it's like this time you didn't do the job. You didn't finish. I mean, you didn't beat me. You just, I'm still having a tough time digesting this, but that's why I want to move on. I want the rematch more than anything. And I think that they need to strike while the iron's hot with the landscape of the division. Why not? You know what I mean? Look at, Khabib and Tony are going to fight. Yeah. Gaethje and Alvarez are off doing their thing. Like, who else is he going to fight? Is he going to fight Poirier? If he's not going to fight Poirier, he's not going to fight Johnson. So why you should just fight me? You know what I mean? I already said I'll wait till December to fight this guy in Detroit. And if he beats me without the intervention of some stupid ass official, pardon my French, then you beat me. You got me. You know what I mean? That's sports, but we got to run it back.
Did you see any of his post-fight comments? And if so, how do you feel about the way he handled the victory? Kevin, that is. I
don't pay attention to any of that guy's media stuff. Okay. It's so cringeworthy. It's not like even leading up into the fight, everybody be like, "Oh, did you see this interview that Kevin did? What he said about you?" I'm like, dude, I do not pay attention to that guy. I have much better things going on in my life than to pay attention to what the hell that guy has to say in general, especially when it comes to me. I could care less. I haven't seen any of them. I haven't heard any of them.
Okay.
So I'm sure they're great. I'm sure there's some quality material.
Have you or your manager, Danny Rubenstein, talked to the UFC yet about this idea of rematching him, maybe even in Detroit? I mean, I'm assuming it would be a natural for him to fight in Detroit because he's from there. And do you know if the UFC is into this idea?
Well, for me and Danny, we just got through the appeal process. This all, came to an end, the end of last week. We'll probably speak about it today, tomorrow, probably start sorting things out. I did go get an MRI done on my shoulder, so I'm just kind of waiting to see back from that. I'm sure everything's fine. But we figured once we get the results from that, then we'll move forward and talk to the UFC. But I mean, I know that they're not huge on rematches in a lot of instances. But I think that this one is like just, let's run it back. Why not? You guys are all about hyped fights. You're all about, everything that happened leading up to mine and Kevin's fight is exactly what you've asked for from us athletes. Not asked for, you know what I mean? But this is what they like. They like fights promoted. They like build up. They want attention. Well, like, dude, this is the fight to make right now, and if it's not, I'm going to move on and I don't care. I'm going to go beat some guys up and I'll get ranked higher above him. And that's all she wrote, you know what I mean? But if it was up to me, I'd get a rematch.
How did you feel?
I deserve it, dude.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I deserve it, dude. I won the longest, hardest season of The Ultimate Fighter. I've been in the company for 5 years. I don't ask for much, you know what I mean? But it's like, this is the one time where I feel like I deserve this rematch. I feel like it's not owed to me, but I feel like it's just like the right thing to do.
I know you said you haven't watched it yet, but how do you feel about your performance up until the choke? Were you happy with what you were doing, or are there things that you would like to do differently if you get the rematch?
Yeah, everything was going good, man. It's just bad habits for me. You know what I mean? Every fight I've ever been in, I always give up my back in the first round. It's stupid. You know what I mean? I did it against Benil, I did it against Lozon, I did it against Jim Miller. I do it to everybody. You know what I mean? And it doesn't make it right. It's just it's a bad habit. We all every athlete's got some sort of bad habit. That's mine. You know what I mean? And the one thing I won't do, Ariel, is I'm not going to take what happened to me on June 25th and let it hold me down. I'm not going to grow. You grow from your losses, and I have to, at this point, I have to figure out how to accept it and just, I'm going to get better by making sure I don't ever get in that position again to where that could happen. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to grow from a technical standpoint, but everything up until that was going great. I dropped him, you know, his kicks were slow. My footwork was better. You know, everything felt good just up until that point, you know, just, you know, I need to work on making sure I don't ever get myself in that type of bad situation again. And I'll grow as a fighter. You know what I mean? And we won't see me giving up my back in the first round anymore for the rest of my career.
Why do you think you do that in the first round all the time, or so many times?
I don't know. I just think it's I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I just get too comfortable. You know, back controls my game. You know, that's my game. So as good as I am offensively with it, I've always been like, I never feel threatened when someone takes my back. I'm always like, oh, whatever. You know, he'll take my back. I'll just kind of like, you know. Anytime I get in that situation and fight, I'm always like, oh, just relax, ride it out. You'll get out. It's no big deal, you know. And then it happens. I get out, or the round ends, and I move on and I win. Well, now it's like that habit's got to go. You know what I mean? I don't think if anybody ever gets close to taking my back, it's going to be like a hand on a hot stove. I'm going to bounce right back up to my feet, and it's just not going to happen again. You know, just it's time to break old habits. You know, and you know, I'm still growing as a fighter. I feel I haven't watched my fight, but. You know, I put hands on him. I was doing good. My footwork was great. Just got to continue to evolve from there, you know?
Well, Mike, I know it's very disappointing, but I really appreciate the way you've handled this. I mean, you didn't make that big of a sting. I mean, you were disappointed in the cage, I could tell, but we've seen others handle it way worse and go online and make a whole big thing. You did not do that. So kudos to you on handling it with class. And I'm sorry it didn't work out. And I'm sorry the way it ended. And I agree with some of your comments regarding Mario Yamasaki. You continue to mess up like that, and he has. Maybe not get banished from the sport, but maybe it's time that you go back down the card and work your way back up, so to speak. The main event should be a very prestigious gig to get as a referee, as an official, and clearly there is a pattern here of bad judgment calls, and I think that they need to do something, and I have a feeling that they will be doing something about it. So kudos to you on how you handled it, and good luck trying to get that rematch. Hopefully, for your sake, that you do get it. And what a scene it would be in Detroit, of all places.
I'm willing to go into his backyard to do it. You know what I mean? And on a side note, I really appreciate you reaching out after the fight. That meant a lot. Sorry I didn't get back to you.
No problem.
You know, I was running away from the world for a little bit, and I also want to say I'm sorry about what happened with the Money Mayweather.
Oh, it's all good.
McGregor, the whole media tour. I'm sorry to hear what happened to you. You're the best. You're the best journalist. Best reporter, best man in the business. You know, I feel bad for you. I'm sorry.
No problem. All good. Thank you, Michael. We'll talk to you soon. Appreciate the time, and good luck getting your phone back as well.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon. There he is, Michael Chiesa. Appreciate his time, and it will be interesting. He lays out a good scenario there. Gaethje and Alvarez are booked. Of course, they're doing Khabib and Ferguson maybe in November at MSG.